But I wanted to ask you, you know, when you look at all of your autoimmune patients, and a lot of them have inflammation in the gut through,
Yes.
some of them are constipated, some of them have IBS-like symptoms or bloating, gas. You spoke about the microbiome.
Yes.
So there's so much on the internet about, prebiotics, probiotics. A lot of our patients, they they take probiotics on their own, 50 billion, 75
Yes.
billion, even 100 billion. And for some
Yep.
of them, we see that their gut actually gets worse. And for some of them, it
Exactly.
gets better. But the point
Yes.
is, how do you advise people to slowly start their journey into building a healthy gut, a healthy microbiome?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we like to use foods because, with supplements like probiotics, they can be very strong. And I always recommend taking any supplements under the supervision of your doctor because the wrong probiotic I've actually seen worsen autoimmune disease or worsen gut health. So food is safe, and we like to recommend fermented foods, things like sauerkraut, yogurt, idli, dosa. A lot of these fermented foods are very healing for the gut. And then one category that I think is under recognized is prebiotic foods, which are foods that feed the good bacteria. They're not probiotic foods like fermented foods with the live bacteria, but prebiotic foods like artichoke, asparagus, actually ground flaxseed is really excellent. Chia seed, and then, so in my book, I list, dozens of options for these prebiotic foods, and some of them are surprising. Like one among nuts and seeds, chestnuts are one of the highest sources of prebiotics, and usually that's only consumed in the holiday time in the West, but that's a healthy food to be eaten year round.
Okay, great. And the leaky gut, that's all over
Yes.
the internet today. We see a
Yep.
huge connection between a Hashimoto's and, even a vitiligo and leaky gut, most
Yes.
autoimmune conditions. How
Yep.
would you explain it to our audience in the most easiest way? Like, is it really a
Yes.
myth or is it leaky gut? And what are some of the ways that we can start looking to repair this leaky gut?
Yes, yeah, yeah. We know this is a real condition because there's hundreds of research papers now documenting this. And what I would explain to people is that the gut lining is supposed to be like a brick wall, which does not let anything through unless the cells choose to do so. But when you have leaky gut, you can imagine a lot of the bricks go missing, like they start to disappear. You have all these little gaps in the wall, and then things can get through without being supervised, like bacteria or toxins, and they get into the bloodstream that way. And then it's been shown that those bacteria or toxins can travel to distant organs, kidney, heart, liver, brain, and then cause inflammation, cause damage. So there are a lot of gut healing foods I recommend, like okra. Bindi is
Yeah.
really excellent for healing the gut. Aloe vera juice, another good option. For any non-vegetarians, bone broth, either fish or chicken is very good. Plus those fermented foods, which have been shown to reduce inflammation and improve gut diversity in the microbiome, which is very important. And then finally, the prebiotic foods, all of those foods that feed those beneficial bacteria.
Mhm. All right. Do you think stress has an impact on the way we know it has an impact on the way the gut works, especially in cases
Yes.
like IBS? But how would you explain in the simplest way possible the correlation between stress, the gut inflammation, leaky gut, and possible flare-ups in an autoimmune condition?
Yes. So I tell people that stress is often one of the initial causes for the manifestation or diagnosis of autoimmune disease. And it's been shown to be one of the drivers for flare ups. So once a person has autoimmune illness, and it mostly results through the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight response, gets activated by stress. And then that leads to a lot of downstream effects like increased inflammation, weight gain, fatigue, immune system dysregulation. So it all gets mediated through the nervous system ultimately.
Okay. Doctor, I like the word you've used detox in your book, the word
Yes.
detox. And I mean, that's a word that we were trained on as well. But today you have a lot of people saying, oh, detox can't work. The human body has its own way of, cleaning itself, which is true. But we do
It's
also
true.
know scientifically that there are foods that are able to detox the body. And if there is a
Yes.
toxin overload, we need to detox it.
Mhm.
So this word that you talk about, detox, can you explain it and break it down? So a lot of people don't believe in detoxes. They just believe that, hey,
Yes.
I have toxins, my body will take care of it. And it will. It can take care of a certain amount
Yes.
of toxins. But when there's an overload coming in through pesticides, environmental toxins, poor lifestyle, would love for you to talk about that, doctor.
Yes, and I think it's important that we talk about the nuance within this topic because we can't just dismiss all detox as snake oil and not really needed. It is true the body has its own systems, liver, kidney, lymphatics for detox, and then my approach is let's strengthen those, so the body can do better what it's supposed to be doing. So I think kind of taking a middle ground where we are reducing exposure to toxins through our water, food, air, skin products, home environment. So that way we reduce the intake of toxins. And then if we boost the detox, so one of my favorite foods to do that, there's two. One is cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Those are very good for detox. And then the beetroot, so the beetroot and the beet greens, the leafy tops of the beetroot, are excellent for something called methylation, which is one of the ways the liver detoxifies, and also supports your glutathione, which is another antioxidant in the liver that's key for detox. So with beets and beet greens and cruciferous vegetables, you can really help your detox.
Right. It makes me sad in our country back in India. Uh,
Yes.
People sell the beetroot. They chop off
Yeah.
all the greens and that's just thrown on the side. And,
Correct.
in the villages, that's used even for women who are going through pregnancy because
Yeah.
of the folates. It's one of the most powerful things. But I'm happy you spoke about that, beetroot as well.
Yes.
And of course, cruciferous vegetables. I wanted to ask you the impact of obviously processed food and ultra processed, which has become a huge issue. you know,
Yes.
it slows down the liver, it slows down organs which have the natural ability to detoxify. So can you talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that and its connection with inflammation as well?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I do think processed foods are a very big issue because we know they're engineered to be hyper palatable and addictive. So it's very real that people struggle with addictions to these processed foods. It's hard to stop eating them. And then they have so many additives, things that we don't recognize, chemicals that cause inflammation, that harm the gut. And so I tell people if they read a label and there's one ingredient they don't understand or have not heard of, then to not eat that food, because you want to make sure you're having whole foods as much as possible with minimal processing. And I do think it's a big driver of obesity, the chronic inflammation, diabetes, and also autoimmune disease.